Hello everyone and welcome back to the Cyclocross Social podcast. New year, same old racing, same old podcasting deal. With me here to discuss the opening race of the season is Issam, the X2O trophy in Baal, GP Sven Nys. Thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure. New year, new me. So we're gonna start a new introduction. No. Thank you for having me.
Still the same. I think you scared some listeners there, but what has changed, Issam? What has changed? Certainly not the racing, same winners. I have plenty of thoughts on everything, but what has changed? Some kits. I'm not that positive necessarily. I mean, the Alpecin Premier Tech kit now, it looks fine, but I just think that Alpecin lacks creativity. This is just nearly the identical jersey that they had 3 seasons ago. It's better than last year because then they just had a gray jersey and put some sponsor logos on it. But that team definitely lacks creativity. What else is new? We have another new jersey. We have the merger team, Charles Deschartres. That is possibly even worse because the jersey was clearly not ready. They just took the Deschartres jersey and put a vest without sleeves from Charles Ligois on there. That's an interesting look. The new name for Baloise Verzekeringen, het Spoedsbureau Lions. I'm just going to go with Baloise. I'm not pronouncing that every time. It's two rows if I'm going to write that out in the results. And then finally also new, Team Ekoi. This is finally clarity on the Alpecin structure. As predicted, it came on the last day of the year. Ryan Kamp moving into that, kind of the same structure with the same sponsors. They move Laura Molengraaf into that, and that is also the jersey that Helene Clausel will be racing in. Issam, maybe briefly, any thoughts on the few changes that we had? Of course, also a new jersey, by the way, for the riders and the road teams. Backstead new jersey. We had a new jersey for, Quinten Hermans in the black. Johnny Vermeers, I was going to say, but he was in the Red Bull jerseys, the training kit. So a few changes, but nothing too crazy.
I mean, the Baloise Verzekering at Poetsbureau Lions is probably the first and the last time I will say it in that form because no one is gonna be happy, listening to that or pronouncing it. So I guess we're gonna stick with Baloise or Baloise Lions. I think they've kept Lions in the name, so I think we can make it short for Baloise Lions and keep it at that. I think overall, there are always going to be changes that are not that great. We have to get used to that in a sense, and I think we will do that. It is what it is. I don't really have a sharp opinion on changes that have been made. Definitely not the most chaotic year, I guess. A lot of things have been rushed, but overall, most of the things are still somewhat the same, or just like in a different way. But they are still still same structures in a sense. The Ekoi structure is, I guess, interesting because it is sort of it seems like it's a long-term plan, but like with a short-term vision at the moment, it's hard to judge where that will lead those 3 riders, if they will add a few more, or we have to wait and see what the ambitions will be eventually, and if that is just going to be something that will be used to add more riders to it in the future. And yeah, as you said, I mean, those were the changes, but the racing seems like it started off in 2026 where it was left with in 2025.
Yeah, of course, nothing would really change in those few days. So Van der Poel, he took off at the start, but actually for a brief moment there was maybe some sense that we could be in for an offset because Emil Verstringen closed a gap of about 10 seconds, came across to the world champion. Van der Poel then made a mistake on an uphill, tried to whip out of a rut, crashed, but already after the crash you could kind of see how strong he was because he closed that gap to Verstringen in absolutely no time. Then waited in the wheel a lap, dropped the hammer. He was just so much more powerful on those climbs. Verstringen went really, really, really deep to try and follow, but it wasn't to be. Van der Poel, the second half of the course, those climbs there really could make the difference for him. Verstringen technically in those downhills was better. I mean, earlier Van der Poel tried to put him under pressure, but he could come back still. The fatigue just accumulated. It was over for Verstringen. Van der Poel taking the win. Verstringen strong second place. For third, there was a bigger battle. We had Jente Michels in there with Toon Aerts, Thibaut Nys, and Joris Nieuwenhuis. But it was with, I think, 2.5, maybe 3 laps to go. Nys, who powered away there, took third place. Yeah, what can I say? My main takeaway here is from the front runners. Van der Poel, more powerful. But Verstringen, take a bow, what a ride. There's few people who really even go for it when Van der Poel takes off, but he sensed an opportunity, he took it. What a ride, what a phenomenal season he's having. You've been high on him since the start, and I will credit you for that, Issam. You had very high expectations and really thought that that Tour de France could really help him become a better rider. So far, that definitely seems the case. Today, arguably his best ride of the season, but it has already been a great season. He's been good almost in every single race he's done. There's been a few days where he kind of didn't really show up, but even then, his floor has definitely been raised. Like last year, there were still a few days where the bottom kind of fell under him, and especially as the last year U23, that tendency was there. But this year, the number of times that he's finishing outside of the top 5 is quite sporadic. The number of times outside of the top 10, even more. It's just been a really good season all out for him. And today, taking the bull by the horns, thinking maybe, just maybe I can do what people hoped Thibaut Nys could do. And he did it. I respect that. I applaud that. And it definitely brought him to that second place, just sticking by Van der Poel and gaining 15, maybe 20 seconds a lap on the chasers.
It's a courageous move, and it takes quite some cojones in a way, because you see him go, and it was already quite a gap, and you just see him, inching closer and closer, and then eventually was able to bridge it. And I thought, I kind of still was somewhat sure that Van der Poel would win. I was just hoping that Verstringen was not going to blow up and fall in the hands of the guys behind him by doing something that is in a way very courageous and was a super strong effort. And the crash, that can give you a little hope, but overall you kind of knew immediately when Van der Poel was right up and went on paddling. You could see that he was still in good shape, and hopefully we're not gonna hear any. There is a certain aftermath of that crash, where all of a sudden he's not able to compete for the rest of the weekend. So hopefully that will, if there is anything to heal, it will heal, and he will be able to race again in Mo. It seems to not bother him all too much. So hopefully that's all fine. But for Stringer, I mean, this season he blew me away. I had expectations. I had high expectations, maybe a little too high, but the way he rode in the Tour de France, and overall how the summer he had, and the potential that he showed in the last couple of seasons, you just know, he's a type of climber. This is a course. Baal is definitely a course that suits him well. He was the best of the rest by far. And if Van der Poel wasn't here, he would have won comfortably. He would have absolutely won comfortably, because the effort that he was able to get himself through in the race compared to the others, hell of an effort. And he was able to hang on to that second place, which I was very happy about. Definitely deserved that. And the progression that he is making should not be a shock. Don't be surprised if it's only going to get better, especially on these type of courses. I feel that there's still a margin, not the biggest margin, but there is still a margin of growth. He will definitely be able, the environment that he is in, all his surroundings, the riders that he can look up to. I think that he is in the right place to make that step and to get better. I only hope that his climbing abilities are not going to take him away from cyclocross on the road. There are road teams that are desperate for a climber, and if he is going to showcase that skill on the road, that could have an influence on his career. But let's just enjoy what we have right now. I think there is more to come, and I hope that he will continue to improve in his cyclocross campaign, because he has it in him to be a very, very great cyclocross rider. He's not like a Thibaut Nys in personality, but he's definitely someone that is like to be seen in Belgium. And he has a potential. I'm telling you, he definitely does.
The funny thing is that Van der Poel and Verstringen are teammates on the road. They raced the Tour de France together last year, but then in cross they're in the different jerseys. So it's again a bit the illusion of choice, if you will. It's two of the same teammates, but they're fighting against each other, and that's fine, right? Cyclocross is a more individual sport, so just seeing the jerseys, the Paul Sauser tactics and antics is more exceptional than really the standard in this sport, thankfully. So that was just a really nice thing to see, and Van der Poel after the finish very, very positive about Verstringen, as you would expect considering they are teammates. That's the reason I came to this point. Thibaut Nys in third then, Issam. I have, some thoughts about that. First of all, let me start by saying that I worry a little bit about the recovery ability of Thibaut Nys, because we had the Tour last year, and yes, he was sick, but he never really recovered throughout the race, didn't really leave any mark. He's not going to do the Tour this year. And in cross, you also see that he is very prone to needing these recovery breaks. Like the way you hear him talk about it a number of times, like the fatigue building before this race, it's just a bit troublesome. And he's still relatively young, but at the same time, that's also something that should be growing, and I would like to see that improve over the years. But I was reading a quite interesting article about the race in the Belgian newspaper, and Thibaut Nys, and this is what I also heard in the interview before the race, said that Diegem really hampered his rhythm, and that's something you hear a lot from different riders. Many riders don't like the night race in Diegem because, especially in this busy period, they live by a rhythm. They race, then come back, go to the massage, eat food, scroll some on their Instagram, they recover, go to bed at, I don't know, say 9 or 10, sleep next morning, easy spin on the rollers, eat breakfast, chill a little bit, go to the race again. And it's just a nice rhythm that they have. And Diegem fully interrupts that, because all of a sudden, like, they finish at 9 before Thibaut Nys has gone to the anti-doping, been at the podium. It's easily 10:30, 11 before he leaves that venue, needs to go home, has all the adrenaline pumping, and then gets out of bed the next day for New Year. So it's difficult, and I get that, and it's something that I've heard from more riders. It's, like I said, why some riders don't like the night race and they skip it if they can. Or riders who do Diegem that skip Baal because they think that the turnaround is too quick. I get that. But again, I do think that the overall thing of recovery is a small point of concern to me. His race, for everything considered, I think was quite smart. I already knew before the race that he wasn't really going to try and follow Van der Poel. He stayed within his limits, got third place, and there was a funny point in the article. His dad, Sven, who carries the name of the race, said, if you don't finish on the podium, next year I'm going to have a sand pit be constructed at the...
Well, he was so frightened by it that he was like, yeah, I need to get a podium here, and he just changed it up in terms of racing and went for that third place. And I think that Nys rode a smart race, because he didn't bother at all when he was in that group with Toon Aerts, Nieuwhuis, and Jente Michels, and he was looking to see if it was, when he made his move, to see if he was able to bridge the gap to Verstringen, but Verstringen was too far away, and this, despite the fact that he was maybe struggling a little bit, he wasn't losing all that much ground to Thibaut. So I think at that point it was clear that he had to settle for third, but I think that is better than finishing fourth, fifth, or sixth. I think there being on the podium must mean something. I don't really think you can say that today was a very good day. It seems like he had that he knew his limits, but he wasn't having a perfect day. On the whole rhythm stuff, if you look at any other sport, in a way, some need a week, some need like 2 weeks to get into a rhythm if they have something that is just a little bit different than the daily routine that they have. And such a night race, sports like boxing, for example, where you have sometimes fights at 12 or even at like 1 a.m., that's very late, and that is something that your body needs to get used to, and they start with a certain routine sometimes a month in advance. And we're talking here about high performance athletes that kind of need that in a way. So I can totally understand it, and there is a lot of reason in that. And I don't know, maybe there has to be looked at in a sense that if we're going to do night races, that we have multiple night races, or we can look into that. I don't know if there is any room for it to try and help the riders out there, but maybe there is something to work out. But there is not that many night races that we have obviously on the calendar, so it's obviously going to be disruptive, and mainly because there is not much really in terms of days that you have to get back into the normal rhythm. It's only like 2 days, and there you're already. And New Year's Eve is not particularly the most normal evening that you're going to have, especially not in Belgium and the Netherlands. So it all comes together, I guess.
Well, it's more like a war zone in some places over here than festivities, but no, definitely. I don't think that it really matters that much. Like, I get what you're saying in the sense that it's very specific and that it's very disruptive to a rhythm. And I mean, talk about how people prep for the Olympics, right? Like, they prep the time schedule, like the marathon in Tokyo, because that was so early because of the heat. That took
Yeah.
a totally different preparation, a totally different sleep rhythm that they were in for weeks and months, and they were already moving to Japan early to adjust to the jet lag and all those things. Like, it's just so much more than you sometimes see in cycling, and I guess it's also less necessary in cycling with the way the sport is set up. But I think it's fine that there's an outlier. Cyclocross could use more events like Diegem. I remember Mol a few years ago was another night race in the Christmas period, and it had some element of charm to it. It's quite nice to have a few of those events throughout the season, especially if they do it in the midweek and therefore are able to improve the World Cup schedule, for instance. I don't necessarily think that it's bad that the athletes they don't fade too well with it. Thibaut Nys can make his own decision. Next year, if he really wants to win in Baal, then he doesn't race Diegem. It's up to him to decide. So, all in all, I think that much is fine, but not his day. We will see. He's going to skip tomorrow in Mol. He's not going to go in Gullegem. He will do Zonhoven and then rest up for the Belgian Championships. And yeah, I mean, Verstringen definitely putting himself forward as a contender there. The course in Beringen should suit him. I was looking desperately to find a course map today. I don't think it's out yet, but it will include the Ter Heels there. It should be a good climb. Verstringen, Nys, Van Aert, 3 favorites. Toon Aerts, another outsider, I think, with a 4th place today, again confirming good form. And don't count out Michael van Toerenhout. He wasn't here today, but boy, would he have loved this course. The first semi-muddy conditions we had this Christmas period, the first in a really long time. I mean, we've barely had any muddy races this season at all. We had the Koppenberg, we had Hamme, which was a little bit muddy, but overall, boy, has it been dry. Has it been dry. Let's look at the entire top 10. Van der Poel, Verstringen, Nys, Aerts, Nieuwenhuis, top 5. Then Michels ahead of Fontana, Kamp, David Menu, and 10th for Quinten Hermans. Really, really weak field here, Issam. I think I don't really want to attribute too much time to Quinten Hermans and Gianni Vermeers, but I know you have some frustrations about the amount of time you saw Gianni Vermeers in his training kit on the screen, as opposed to other times when you want to see some riders moving through the field or in the under 23.
It was not like he was in the top 10 or anything. He finished 14th. I can recall some moments where he was like outside of the top 20 and just getting inside the top 20. And I'm not really like, I don't mind him getting screen time because he is a rider of quite a stature. He's quite known in Belgium. He had his good days in cyclocross overall, and today was actually not a bad performance overall. I don't understand it in the sense that there were definitely moments in this season where they could have done it the other way around, as you said, for the under 23, especially in the women's race. Was not like we had the most exciting women's races overall. And overall, there are also on the men's side, there are sometimes battles that are like outside the top 5 that are more interesting than what we're seeing. It's like sometimes we have like the top 5 all being like alone and having gaps in between, and it's all kind of settling down. Yet you have some battles maybe for P8 or P6 or whatever. You don't need to focus on it all too much. It doesn't need to be like a Formula 1 thing where you just get this midfield battle and you're like, I'm not really bothered anyways for a fight for P15, but you can show it at times and just switch it up a little bit, because I don't really expect any big changes, major changes, unless there's going to be a lot of critique, and I don't think critique is really going to come from where the most of the money is coming from, which is Belgium and also a little bit from the Netherlands.
Take a breath, Issam. The year is still young, and we can make this point many more times, but no, definitely something that would be nice to see improved throughout the year. I mean, today it was nice to see Filippo Fontana on screen a number of times, but that was mainly because the director just loved to show those shots from that one pump track section, getting some nice airtime. Very impressive how Fontana went down there. Another good result for him, 7th. Menu also good in 9th, and I was surprised to see Damien Breton in 12th place. Never really expected that from him. He was ahead of Cameron Mason. Cameron Mason, I wanted to make a point about him, but he just literally a few minutes ago I got a notification from the story, which has been up for hours. I don't know what Instagram is up to lately, but he said that what I was going to make as a point, that the Christmas period for him hasn't been that good. after the start, Koksijde Hofstad, it kind of went downhill. He said that he's feeling fatigued and is going to rest up now to prepare for some of the biggest races of his career in the next few weeks. He has no doubt of what is possible, and you'll see him around. So with that, we will move to the women's race there, because we also had same old. Lucinda Brandt, first lap, placed an attack, gone right away. Didn't have the best start, but Puk Pieterse, she slipped on the stairs, and from there on it was game over. I mean, the gap was 20 seconds, and it stayed 20 seconds until the final lap, and then Brandt let go. Final margin of victory, 12 seconds, Brandt ahead of Pieterse, and some distance behind was Backstedt, kind of racing in a no man's land in the new Canyon SRAM kit, which is quite colorful. Let's leave it at that. Third place. I mean, I think overall the kit, I don't mind it too much, but from the front it just looks a little bit strange. It's very artsy, it's different, so I will praise the creativity of that kit. She finished third, quite far behind Pieterse and Brandt, but also quite far ahead of a strong Jolanda Neff, who finished fourth Issam. But for Brandt, a bit sad that we couldn't see a real battle between her and Pieterse. I mean, that was I wouldn't necessarily say a mistake by Pieterse. That's more what I would say unlucky. She just slips there on the stairs. First lap, it's slippery. It just started raining. It happens. Those wooden stairs get really, really slippery with the type of wood they put down there. But again, if I'm Pieterse, I'm taking some positive points from this and just kind of sensing, I'm in the ballpark. I'm within the range. I'm maybe the rider that can make a play for it. The rider that can really push Brandt to the limit, but everything needs to come in place if I want to beat this Lucinda Brandt.
Yeah, I think Pieterse is maybe the one that has given us the best impression of being able to challenge Brandt in the coming races. And sure, today, can you say that? I think in a way you can say that how the course was. It is a race that in certain sections of the course suits Pieterse maybe a little bit better. Brandt was still able to, with the power that she has, she can definitely make up overall. And the difference wasn't really that big. And the stairs, those damn stairs, were definitely, they played a role and took away somewhat maybe a fight. I'm not saying that Brandt would have lost if the stairs incident wouldn't have happened for Pieterse, but they played a role. You cannot deny that. But it is what it is, and Brandt is strong. If you look at the way she was racing also today, it took her an effort, but it was not that she was absolutely killing herself. She was in control, and that is just something. That is a side that we have seen so far this season. Almost every race that she's in, and I still have some hope in terms of what is coming for the next coming weeks. Pieterse definitely looks, in my opinion, that she is on the right path for improvement, and hopefully it will be enough to challenge Brandt. We can definitely see. I can see that happening. I think that it is possible. Nevertheless, Brandt is still on an incredible run currently, and it's just every race we're kind of hoping for something, but there is just not really much that you can hope for, other than you kind of know already that Brandt is going for the win, and is going to win.
I want to avoid repeating too much topic points that we've already discussed throughout the overall period over Christmas. I mean, we've had so many of these same riders at the front, and the field again today just not very deep. I mean, Lucinda Brandt, congrats on winning the X2O trophy with 2 races to go. It's also quite sad. I mean, Zemanova has raced 2 races in the X2O trophy and she's 10th in the series. So I don't know. My criticism of the X2O trophy is known. I think the time system just doesn't work. Men's side, Neil has 3-minute lead over Mason, also pretty much in the bag. Nobody really going for it. Kind of sad to see the classification, which for years was really a highly respected and regarded trophy, just fall like this. It's a lot worse, this situation, than the Super Prestige. So that much for the X2O trophy overall. Brandt with the win in that. Already 2 races to go. Backstedt third, solid outing, but we've also discussed that in Loenhout extensively. It's a good outing for her. I don't think I had expected much more. The elevation on this course certainly doesn't suit her. I think also at some point when she kind of started to fade from Pieterse, she decided, well, better to save the engine for a course like Zonhoven. That's kind of the feeling I felt, because the gap behind was huge. That group with Neff, Bakker, Ribeirol, they were together and they got some nice battling in there. And Nev really with a late charge to take fourth, which is a good result. Nev, a former winner on this course in, I believe, 2020, or was it 2019? I think 2019, before the Worlds in Bogense. That was her last World Championship. She's since confirmed also that she will race the World Championships in Hulst this summer, which I just think is really cool to see.
Absolutely. Can recall that they said on the broadcast it was 2019, so I think they must be right, right? So, yeah, I think that late charge was definitely good. It was great to see. I was kind of afraid because start of the race and how that developed, you kind of saw that Nef was fading a little. So I was like, hopefully that is not going to be fading all the way. But she kind of regrouped. Was there? She was there in that group with also Bakker and Ribeiro, and I think that she was able to kind of find a rhythm again. And she was there right at her place, and then eventually was able to charge for fourth. So I think that was a strong effort, and it's great to see her racing in Hulst. It hurts in a way because she decided at some point to kind of leave the cyclocross for what it is and focus more on mountain bike. What could have been, maybe that is sometimes an idea that you have, but it is what it is, and it's not definitely not going to hamper my enjoyment of seeing her both at the World Championships and overall in all the races that she's doing. It's just a pleasure to have her, and it's just great overall. And her performances are definitely not bad. They are definitely very respectable. She's up there. She's improving, and that's just a great process to track, I guess.
Definitely, and Nev, potentially, the course in Hills could suit her quite well. Could maybe think about a top 10 in that race. I mean, her results, okay, they speak for themselves, right? Like Antwerp, really good course for her. Diegem here, these are all fine courses for her. Hulst with those downhills drops, some technical stuff, but not too much, potentially some mud. It could be quite a good course for her. And with so many of these strong riders ahead in the front of the races racing the under 23 category, there's always this sense that these riders you don't really see in the top 10 too often. I mean, look at, for instance, Denise Betsma. She too could make a big play for a top 10 at the World Championship simply because so many riders move through to the under 23 category, and Nev definitely is a rider that can dream about that. If we look at the entire top 10, Brand, Pietersen, Bakset, Nev, Bakker, Ribeiro, Carrier, Langenbarg, Krabbe and Lopez de San Roman completing the top 10. I think we've discussed many of these riders. Carrier, another great performance. I would say that perhaps where she finished is where I would have expected Lopez de San Roman to finish, but yeah, regardless, Carrier just continuing a very strong period here, and yeah, I mean, she too will position herself with this as a potential outsider for that under 23 podium come Hulst in a month from now.
That is somewhat the ball game, eh? There's you start the season, you have some names, you have some ideas, you start to think, you start to predict, and then the closer the World Championships are getting, the more names are surging through, and others that are getting that have a setback, a small setback or a bigger setback, and eventually you will see that will have his story, and when we arrive 1 or 2 weeks before World Championships, which is well, almost there. We will be, we will be looking at certain names, and Carrier is definitely now somewhat positioning her more and more as one of those riders that could potentially go for it. But I think it depends also a little bit maybe on the circumstances that we will get in Hulst, but which should not become a a preview for the World Championships. That is, you didn't even do the national, so I guess we have to wait a little bit for that. But it's definitely great to see, and it was a strong effort from Carrier, so definitely worth mentioning.
For sure, and we will see what that will bring the World Championships, first the nationals. And yeah, I think Carrier just a very strong ride. Before we end this episode, there was also another race today in Luxembourg in Petange with Gerwin Kuipers taking the win ahead of Lander Looks and Theo Thomas. The women's win going to Liv Wenzel ahead of Nina Berton and Laurine Durafou. I think with that we have reached the end of the racing outside of the national championships, and for the rest it's just the main series. I think it's just the the World Championships, the World Cups, and then the post-Worlds racing in Belgium, which I'm super excited for. But yeah, I think that's it, Issam. We will be back probably in 2 days. Probably no podcast for Mole. The start list is not that good, but if the racing is very good, then we'll probably come back. But it's not really looking all too great for that race. So we will see tomorrow what we do with that race. And Els will be back this weekend with Gulligem and Zonhoven.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully the racing will be somewhat okay. So at least I have something to watch and look forward to. But yeah. Otherwise, it's gonna be for the weekend. So yeah. Thank you for having me.
I will be there on the ground, so I also hope for good racing, and we will see. Thanks everyone for listening. Catch you guys soon. Goodbye.